gosh. Okay. Oh, that was me. Did you see that? Did you see the light blinking in the beginning? That was me blinking my eyeballs before the thumbnail because I wanted to blur my eyes. Anyway, they say that you got to have fun at work, right? Um, so I just saw that Queen Cup just posted a whole bunch of videos, which I am excited to watch. Um, so I was in the other space yesterday. So basically, what I've been wanting to do, I've been seeing 1010 a lot, right? And that sort of implies completion and the beginning of a new. Hey, D. Good morning. How are you? It's completion and the beginning of a new cycle. It feels like on like multiple sides. And so the last time I saw it, it was like, oh, that's Samyaza and Tyrael. That's us on this side in a space of remembering, which triggers on the other side a new sort of connection. It's that dropping of the veil sort of energy. Um, the Fool and the Lovers. I love that. I feel like I don't have words to describe what this is. I feel like there's a certain power of influence because free will is respected, right? So let's say that you have these energies with the tower at the bottom of the deck. Let's say, thank you. I love that. Well, I am wonderful as well. Um, let's say that you're dealing with an energy of, it's a very powerful energy that has the ability to rewrite, to write over, or to pull out the truth of something. So let's say, for instance, you're dealing with Demeter. And let's say that Demeter carries is in the fullness of her power. She is no longer upset about her daughter having her own life. And wherever she goes, abundance follows. And so whenever she makes an appearance, the earth around her cannot help but be extremely fertile, right? That is her. And since we have free will, our realities aren't allowed to be overwritten like that. So when she approaches us, she has to do so from a distance. And again, that's that distance energy that came out with the two Bezaliels. If something were closer, it would start to affect things. Things that are observed are changed, and it's important that we have our free will. And so then that's maybe another reason for the veil, so that we aren't influenced beyond what sort of spirit has permission to influence. And so to counteract that or to get even closer, we have to be more defined within ourselves so that like our realities aren't sort of overwritten. We have to be fixed and stable enough for those energies to come even closer and to not violate sort of certain things, right? And I feel like that's what this is. Because I feel like before, like when they got too close, it would like do something to us. But I don't know, it's getting closer. Anyway, with the tower at the bottom of the deck, it's changing things. I would suggest to anybody if they're, oh, look, now Temperance is there. Temperance at the cut. I love that because it went from the tower to Temperance. That's it being balanced now as she crosses the water and gets even closer. And so it almost feels like maybe there's going to be a period where your boundaries are going to be tested a little bit. Um, anyway, what was I saying? If there is a certain work that you don't want to do, it's probably best to stop searching. Because now that I've seen that D9 chart, I feel like, oh, yeah, well, my Dharma is 11th house Aquarian, just like, I'm here to help too. I'm part of the greater collective too. I'm not just going to run off and try to make myself happy. Not that I would do that, but Nine of Wands, Pumpkinhead. I don't even know why I'm shuffling this deck. Okay. So anyway, because I was feeling good until like last night, and on the other channel, there was an energy of like almost a sudden urgency. This energy that it's like divine energy is being called forth because something is happening or about to happen. And it's almost happening too quickly because it feels like there was supposed to be a time where so this it came out in basically the hanged man and the emperor. I'll just show you because that's fairly easy, and I'm going to shuffle these anyway. So let me tell you what I'm going to do today before I get into the why, right? That would be helpful. So today I'm going to use the two of orbs, the nocturne, the force, strength, and the demon devil to determine how we're sort of navigating this in between space. And when I was in the shower, I was like, I'm going to do that. And then I looked down in the shower and I saw like the soap sort of like whirlpooling. And it spoke of Charybdis to me. I'm pretty sure Charybdis is the whirlpool monster. And so it's like there's this Charybdis energy in the space of what we're sort of trying to transit across. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm using the Spirit Keeper's Tarot, the Wild Unknown Tarot, the Spencer's Tarot cards, um, and whatever else I find later. Um, so yeah, let me show you. Show you? What is show you? That's not salt, is it? Show you? Oh, I love that. Ooh! Look at this. See, look at this. This is clarifying what I was just saying. The lovers is between the mason and the keeper. We have to be this awakened fool to work more directly with spirit. Because if we're not, it's hard to, you know, maintain free will when as soon as something gets close to you, it's changed. Oh, snap. The tower, the warrior, and the devil. Look at that. Bringing light to all those shadowy things. The warrior's about to go in and cut them chains. Set my lovers free. And we've already seen the lovers, right? Okay, anyway, let me not get too far off. The Nine of Wands with strength and the Five of Pentacles. The Vagabond. Where's the Emperor? There's the Empress and the Erudite. Ooh, shout out to Kalina. Okay, girl. Okay. I mean, I might as well do the. No, I'm not, because then I would have to pull out the Mystical Dreams Tarot, and that deck is like split in half, and I don't have time to do all that. So here's the Hanged Man. So in the Mystical Dreams Tarot, the Nine of Wands came out, and it was an energy. There was this large figure with antlers on his head, standing in front of a tree with a noose hanging from the tree that was empty, and then somebody creeping in the back with an axe. And it felt like it was a giant. And both the Greco-Roman gods fought against and defeated the Titans. The Norse gods fought against the giants. There's something interesting there, potentially or not. Um, and so it was that energy of like, Odin had to hang from the world tree to read the runes to get the knowledge or whatever. But the giants like almost already had it because they were tall enough, I guess, to just read it. Um, but it had been vacated, and in the back was somebody with an axe. Now the figure standing in front of the tree had a sword. So it was like this figure cut the person loose because of some threat that was looming. And then this outlaw came out And so we see this figure with the Ankh. He's hanging by the Ankh. Now, the Ankh is given to the Emperor by the Empress. And in a lot of decks, you'll see the Emperor with an Ankh. And it's not because he took it, it's because he was gifted, he was bestowed that. This speaks to, oh, and this is three, the three before the four. So this is a masculine energy in the space of feminine energy, which is the three, the Empress, before he becomes this four energy, which is again the Emperor. Now having mastered what this does, but it's like it feels like the Ankh does something to masculine energy. And now he's in this space where he has to integrate masculine, feminine, sun, moon, internal, external. He's sort of learning to conquer his own ego. And before he completes this process, it's like he's set free because there's a need. So he goes back into the deck with the dynasty. So I was gonna pull the Emperor to show you. And so there are three cards before the Emperor and two cards after the Emperor. Before the Emperor, it's the Holy See, Apocalypse, and the Wheel of Life. This is an established energy. It almost feels like an established energy that is causing trouble for the sake of keeping the Wheel of Life paused. Like it's closing out on Hierophant energy. And in this deck, it's an especially shadowy Hierophant energy. In this deck, the Holy See, it's all about going beyond what is traditional in structure to form a relationship with the divine yourself, to hear the words of the divine yourself, to see through the eyes of the divine yourself, right? That clear audience, clear voyance, clear sentience, clear cognizance, all of that, to get that for yourself instead of sort of relying on someone or something else to do it for you. And the time is coming, the wheel of life is turning out of that cycle. And so it's causing these sort of like apocalyptic things by keeping the wheel stuck. Now, here we have the Emperor. And after the Emperor, it's the angel and the healer. This, I don't know what this is. Again, my occult knowledge is. Welcome back. My occult knowledge is lacking, and honestly, I kind of like it that way. I'm not necessarily interested. So I don't know what this is that he's always pictured with, but it feels like this is his. This is hers. And oh, look at that. So this angel is wearing the Ankh. This is mutable energy in this deck. This low key, this is low key giving me full moon Pisces vibes. It's giving me full moon Pisces vibes because we see those four mutable signs. The nodes are already in Sagittarius and Gemini. And on the full moon in Pisces, the sun will be in Virgo, the moon will be in Pisces. Anyway, so she's wearing the Ankh as well. And then we come into this healer, which carries a sort of similar energy to this. You can see through the ropes. And that symbol on her chest reminds me of this in Apocalypse. Except it's almost like on her chest, it's enclosed within the circle. Like everything is sort of enclosed. On Apocalypse, that's when it's like it starts to separate a little bit, and it's almost like a ticking time bomb, kind of, but not really. Anyway, it's important for us to have not necessarily have enough integrity, but to know self well enough or to be established enough that our wills sort of aren't dominated by other things. Anyway, I kind of hope nobody sees this. And one thing that I've been just like really aware of since yesterday is like I'm the type of person where I'll always think what I'm going to think. Like, I don't care who's talking to me. I don't care where I read something. I'm always going to allow myself the opportunity to form an opinion. And that's why I said, what was that? It was that energy of like, if you think that someone is smarter than you or more proficient than you are, then you kind of sort of default to their position and you default to their opinion if they're more studied. And maybe that's another thing with South Node and Sagittarius. It's for us to no longer do that. And for us to, again, North Node Gemini, be in a space of discovering for ourselves. Which is why, I mean, and you can't, but which is why I try to encourage people to always sort of, see for yourself type of energy. Ooh, there's that keeper with the Queen of Wands. And I was watching something, and it's like we can, if we're not careful, we can be really quick to project energies onto a situation that don't need to be there, right? Let's say that someone's like, Saturn is opposing Jupiter and Jupiter is retrograde. So, Saturn is direct, Jupiter is retrograde, and they're in direct opposition. Or they're in a square, they're in some challenging aspect. And since Jupiter is retrograde, like there is no opportunity. You're only going to feel restricted and blah, 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 right? And so now you're coming into this space accepting that energy of restriction. And you might be restricted, you might not be. But it's like the opinion that you hold or the information that you take in and hold, it's like those are portals or portal blockers. Because now it's like through that belief, you don't really allow yourself to experience what it could have been. And of course, everyone says this is something to be aware of, but not everyone is necessarily able to do that. Not everyone is able to necessarily listen to something, hear something, but still be open enough to allow for something to be whatever it is. But anyway, so I didn't even get to do what I wanted to do yesterday, which was fine. And I was honestly about to shut it down. And then that just sort of like came out. I was like, okay. And like, so whatever that masculine energy is, it has been like actively doing whatever. It just wasn't finished. Because it's like what divine feminine goddess energy is reemerging. And so there needs to be some sort of like masculine energies. That's what I'm looking for to be there. So in this, you can see we have basically two wheels of life. One wheel of life upright, one wheel of life in reverse. There's the north node on one and the south node on the other. The strength card has the north node on it. The devil card has the south node on it. In the middle, it feels like there's a whirlpool. It feels like Charybdis is there, sort of making it even more difficult to return home. This is a very Odyssean energy, which is interesting because I think LB said that she's reading Odyssey. And it reminded me of the Odyssey, which was what Odysseus's return home after the Trojan War, I believe. And how it took him 20 years to do what should have been done in a fraction of the time because things kept happening. And I don't have a Charybdis card, but I do have an Echidna. And so I'm going to pull Echidna from the Spencers. Echidna was the mother of many monsters in Greco-Roman mythology. And also Cerberus, who was, a monster with a job. Oh! I wish I could have seen that. So I had the Nine of Pentacles and I had the Chariot at the cut. And when I was like pulling them apart, my thumbnail just like popped the Chariot off of this and revealed the Seven of Swords. The Chariot is sitting on top of the Warrior. It landed right on top of this deck, and the card was face down. I just pulled it up to see what it is. And then there's the Sun right there. The Warrior is the Sun card in this deck. This is interesting because it feels like the Moon left that eclipse with a mission. Because the moon is so much faster than the sun. The moon makes at least one complete cycle through the zodiac in the time it takes for the sun to fully transit through one sign. And so it's almost like if things have been feeling extra intense or if things have been a little extra weird lately, it's because the moon is moving with purpose, because the moon is moving with a mission right now. It's moving on a mission. And the Seven of Swords in this deck, in particular for me, is a card of birthright. It's the card of what lies dormant within us until we reach a point where we are worthy of claiming it. Because it's like you don't give, you know, you don't give weapons to toddlers and expect for them to not hurt themselves or somebody else. So that's in this deck for me, it's a level of maturity in whatever area that we need to reach before we're given it. And somebody somewhere or some of us have reached that level of maturity before we may be fully sort of ready for it. Because it's like, they're not going to just, if someone isn't practiced enough in that sort of hanged man energy, then they're not going to be set free, because then it's like they're not going to know how to do anything. Right. And so it feels like some will be sort of like pushed into something early to start to establish something new, and to also allow the time for others to sort of finish and complete what it is that they were doing. There is something in here, though, about a new masculine energy that has this is a masculine energy that's more established. This is the King of Cups, Father of Cups, Son of Cups. It feels like the Father of Cups has misused or abused or not been the fullness of what he could have been. And the Son of Cups is positioned to rise into power and has the same sort of like setbacks, has the potential to become what the Father of Cups was, where we get a new masculine energy that's the same as the old masculine energy. And I feel like the Son of Cups has a fear of becoming his father, but he doesn't necessarily need to fear it. It feels like the fear of becoming his father almost keeps him from rising into his power. It's just for him to sort of be more aware, I guess, to not make the same mistakes. And then the Seven of Wands is here. There's an energy here of like certain things that it's like these are really dry. And if they touch the fire, like they would incinerate immediately, which is why they sort of fall away from it. It's almost like they know how quickly sort of like they would be consumed or whatever. Judgment and the Five of Swords. The Five of Swords for a long time was coming out. Oh, look who it is. The Mother of Swords. I don't know if she's finally ready to set herself free of that web she was weaving, but the Five of Swords, and if you go to Build With Me, the Angel Spread, It was this energy of Ten of Swords with the Emperor at the bottom of the deck and the Mother of Wands behind the Emperor. It was this energy of like Spirit was putting us in a position to basically take care of and to handle things on our own. It reminded me of Fight Club whenever somebody would be initiated into the whatever and they were on the porch and they had to endure hunger and the elements and abuse to be sort of invited in. And it reminds me of when Bob was about to leave, but then dude came back out. He was like, don't go anywhere, Bob. Just stay on the porch, put up with it. And then after a certain amount of time, like you'll be welcomed in. And so it is almost an element of endurance, but in the space of that endurance, it's like whatever it is, we're supposed to be finding something within self right now that puts us in a position to be triumphant over our external circumstances. Basically, to be able to go through anything, to be unshakable. Okay. The Three of Swords and the Hanged Man with the Three of Cups at the bottom of the deck and Strength behind the Three of Cups. It feels like with the Three of Swords and the Hanged Man, it feels like there's a hurt or a pain associated with other people that keeps us from doing something. And with the Three of Cups at the bottom of the deck, it's this energy that it's like whatever area we were hurt in is the area that we're going to be approached in. This is that energy of the wound is the space where the light enters or something like that. And with this Hanged Man that came out, it's almost like it's not for us to be so attached to our pain and not for us to be so attached to how things didn't work out in the past that we refuse to be open to evolution, growth, healing, and resolution in the now. And again, this is coming out after the Ten of Swords and the Emperor. This is speaking to the things that the Emperor needs to put away to not become his father. This is what the Son of Swords needs to do within self to not be the same ruler that his father was, to be the space of this Emperor. And then behind Strength is that Seven of Wands again with Justice. And then the Lovers behind Justice. The Lovers in Justice, it's the choice of actions and decisions that move us forward in a way that is more aligned to what we want and that is more aligned to a sort of greater good. And with Strength in the Seven of Wands, it's like you may not always make the easy choice. And I just saw most of Queen Cup's top of the morning downloads. And she was talking about how when you're in the space of transition, your actions determine whether or not you'll sort of cross over into something new. Because if every time you hit a point of, it's like if you want to be sober and every time you hit like a week clean, you go back, then you'll never be clean. If every single time you approach a space of challenge and you decide to turn away from what your healing would push you towards, then you will never be free. You'll always be like at the most a week clean. And then you go back. And then it's another week. And you go back and it's a week and another. Like eventually one of those times, you're going to have to make it to the 8th day. And then the 9th and then the 10th and so on and so forth. Which is why I say so often, like, that Seven of Wands was at the bottom of the deck again. And it's interesting Because the Seven of Wands was actually missing for a while. I think the Seven of Wands was with the animal spirits because I had mixed the two decks together one time, and then I pulled out the animal spirits one day, and I'm like, "Whoa! I didn't even notice that the Seven of Wands was missing." And so, in that, I guess it's something almost primal. It is something that's very primal, but it's not primal in a 3D animalistic sense. It's primal in a spiritual sense. This is the spark of the divine within you that is fighting these shadows that are sort of like encroaching upon it. It's like a spiritual primality, right? Your base sort of nature is to rise, is to bring light, is to be inconquerable. But we just practice so much adopting what others say or handing our power over to others or relying on something external to us to remedy something internal that we sort of dim that flame. Anyway, Seven of Cups at the bottom of one deck, the Queen of Pentacles at the bottom of another, and the Ace of Wands at the bottom of this one. So I'm going to start with, okay. So we have, and I'm going to take the card before and after. We have the Queen of Pentacles and the Magus around the Nocturne. This is a long setup. Let me start. I'm going to just timestamp this as I go along so I don't have to remember to do it later. Shuffling and introduction 0000. Setting up. That's like what, 32 minutes, I think. So, yeah, about. I didn't even notice my. Oh, well. It's not leaving blue. I wish I had more space, but I'll make do. So I'm going to put the north node to the right and the south node to the left. Or actually, whichever one comes out first is the one that I'm going to put on the left. So we'll see. So real quick, you can see the wheel of life. This is the wheel of life, and you can see that there's two wheels, right? So that's us navigating from one life to the other in a way. And before the wheel of life is the keeper. Before the keeper is the journeyman. There's this living wand. There's a certain mastery that we have by the time we enter the Nine of Pentacles that we don't have in the space of the Eight. And that is also speaking to this keeper. There's something that we're in the space of unlocking within self that's going to help us sort of make that a little easier. This is Sun in Virgo. So yeah, there's that I told you. That full moon Virgo, Sun in Virgo, moon in Pisces, nodes in Sagittarius and Gemini. Maybe not. This is interesting. So what's separating the Emperor and the Empress is the Knight of Swords. It's funny though, because it almost feels like the Empress is the one that needs to speak. Like the Empress has been hushed. Even though the Knight of Swords is pointing from the Emperor to the Empress, which is how I feel like a lot of us typically think, or how we hear that it typically goes. The divine masculine is coming in to make an apology to the divine feminine or whatever. But she's been silenced. And it's almost like she's cursed. Not cursed. It's almost like she's taken a vow of silence. And she's been quiet for a really, really, really long time with that dragonfly mask. Her identity has been hidden and she's been silent. silenced if you look at how Hierophant tells stories and has control of history and, spiritual histories as well as actual histories. And there's the scepter. Maybe that's what he gives her. I wouldn't think so, because she's like naturally like the emperor doesn't make an empress the empress. It's like the empress was already the empress, which is why she gives the aunt to the emperor. Anyway, I can't sit here on this all day. So she's coming from the Knight of Chalices, and behind him is Apocalypse. Separating the emperor from the outlaw is Apocalypse. This energy, again, it's like it's encouraging something from us. It's putting us in a position to dig deep within, to be really, really solid on what we find, and to be able to stand strong and firm in our power regardless of what happens outside. But it feels like it's like encouragement or the word of the Empress makes it easier for the Emperor to do that. Maybe with the Empress giving the Emperor the Ankh, it's like something about her presence or her word puts him in a position to be able to like get a clearer perspective on what's happening and to know 15 different things hoping to accomplish one goal. One thing that those 15 wrong. The clarity that the empress, that the queen gives to the emperor or the king through the space of her intuition and her knowing, and just like her being able to sort of observe from a different space. It's not a space of less power, but in some ways it's less pressure because there isn't as much demand on the from the external. And it's not that there's not as much demand. Again, it's not that she has any less power or that she's any less responsible. It's because she's already more anchored within self. She's already connected to that knowing. And it's like the internal is her realm, the external is his realm. And so they both give each other the ability to see clearer in their realm of focus because of the perspective on the other side. And the two of it's like Empress was sending that Two of Swords energy to sort of like, I don't know, wake stuff up. Anyway, continuing, I would have thought that I'd find these cards by now. I only got a handful of cards left. So yeah, on the left is the South Node. You can see the South Node in the horns of the demon right there. And it's coming out between the Dynasty and Sacred Fire. So the Dynasty is going to sort of be sitting on top of the Magus, bridging this over here. This is like all of this is at the top of the deck. I'm pulling from the bottom of the deck to the top. So really, like basically at the bottom of the deck was the Nocturne. We're making this transition. But at the top of the deck where things are a lot more consciously available, that's where all of these energies are. Please don't be at the very top of this deck. Now here it is. Wow. Okay. So the politic, the Three of Wands, strength with the North Node right there. You see it right there? And the Tower. So the politic goes on top of the Ebony Shield, which then branches us out into this. Or would it be the Tower? No, it's not. And then the sun is here. This was literally basically at the top of the deck. And it's interesting because now the Four of Wands is with the Warrior. Or the Four of Pentacles is with the Warrior. The Four of Pentacles is the card I'm going to go looking for in the Spencers to sort of clarify what this Charybdis is. And I'm going to read on the mythology of Charybdis as well. It's going to be very involved. It's fine. But the significance, it's like strength, the North Node, what we're aiming for, top of the deck. The space that we're transiting right now, literally at the bottom. That's literally the whole deck besides the sun. The sun, the warrior, was the only thing outside of that space of where we're going and where we are. Closer to that was the devil, was the south node. And it's like, again, and I think that's what she said. It's like you're already so close to like being free. You're already so close to breaking this. There were literally maybe what, like 10 to 15 cards between the devil and the um, between the devil and the strength card. And I'm about to do some math. Let's see. What is 15 divided by 78? So that's like 80% of the way there. Well, let's do 78 minus 15 divided by 78. Oh, it's 63. 63 out of 78. 63 divided by 78. Yeah, it's like 80% of the way there. And it could have been less. This is the energy of the end. And I think it was like 80% last time too. It's like you've gone so long without a rest or a break that it's like when you finally get one, you almost don't want to get back up because you don't know when the next one is going to be, but you're literally like almost there. So don't get stuck in like what is easy. Don't take the easy way out right now. That's why this is strength, I guess. So let me continue. Now I'm going to find the Four of Pentacles, Echidna. And again, I don't have a Charybdis card, but I have Charybdis's mother, so I'm going to put her on here. Maybe Echidna is just going to be all the monsters. Oh, here she is. So Echidna is sitting in between Judgment, Cerberus, and the High Priestess Fortune Teller. I'll take this as a confirmation. Hey, Zelda. I'll take this as a confirmation that, like, this is Echidna and one of her children. So this is Charybdis. The High Priestess is here. I feel like the High Priestess is here because there's this knowing. This High Priestess is spirit, putting all the cards on the table, setting the whole thing up, hoping, trusting that you're going to do what you need to do, that you're going to rise in the ways that you need to rise, that you're going to find what it is that you need to find, and that you're going to claim it. And so then this comes down like this. So we're left with the Knight of Cups, the Jinn, and the Queen of Swords, the Amazon. That Knight of Cups was behind the Empress. And with this Jinn energy, again, it's almost like that Empress energy was trapped. It was silenced. Its will was bound, I guess. Not in truth, but in how we are exposed to her energy. And for us, what we believe informs our reality. So in our reality, Empress energy, divine feminine energy, it can't reach us. Even if it's not necessarily true. It's like what I was saying with apples and portals. If you believe that all apples are red, then even if you see a green apple, you wouldn't characterize it as an apple. It isn't until your awareness expands that now green apples sort of start popping up in your reality. But now it's like she's coming out as this Queen of Swords, Queen of Wands. It's almost like she's fighting to clear her name in a way. But there would be those, of course, who benefit from her remaining hidden because, if they didn't benefit, she wouldn't be sort of outcast in the first place. So here's this. And I'm not just using because the only deck I got left is the Wild Unknown Tarot. I didn't plan this out, by the way. Oh, it's almost like a tree. Which means I know what I'm gonna do. Oh, it's 99% charged. Let's go. That's a lot of cards, though. I don't have that much space. Oh, I'm gonna have to cheat. I'm gonna have to cheat. And this is the High Priestess spread. That's funny. I'm just gonna have to lay these out. I'm gonna cheat. Oh, I'm a cheater. So the spreads that I build them in a shape as well, and I'm not gonna be able to like keep the shape. So I'm just gonna lay them out. Oh wait. Actually, I'll keep some of the shape. Look at this! The Hierophant literally right next to the Wheel of Fortune. And that's why I said Hierophant is trying to keep the Wheel of Life, trying to keep the Wheel of Fortune stuck because Hierophant's time is over. But as it's keeping it stuck, it's like if you have a clock and one of the gears gets stuck, but instead of it just stopping the clock, it causes this pressure to build up. And then it's like the clock is literally going to start shaking and everything is going to start popping out. It's going to tear itself apart. It cannot be stopped. But us, with the power of our belief, again, in our realities, if we keep it stuck, it's almost like then our realities start to crumble and fall apart. But that's what happens whenever you don't give in to the flow of life. right? It's not necessarily particular to this situation. If you keep yourself stuck in a certain time place, if you don't change and evolve as the world continues to move forward, you start to experience challenges in your reality. And this is 5 plus 10 is 15. And that's devil energy. So Hierophant isn't really different. It's like the other side of the same coin. Anyway, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, I love that energy though. Oh snap! Oh snap! And this, yeah. And look, there's judgment. Here's judgment at the bottom of the deck for this high priestess spread. This is judgment and high priestess around echidna, which is the Four of Pentacles. And I don't think it's a coincidence that we're talking about the Four of Pentacles. Because what the Four of Pentacles is at the bottom of this deck as well. No, the Four of Pentacles is under the sun. But again, in the space of this Four of Pentacles, we have the opportunity to be exposed to all four elements and to come into a space of mastering them. In this, it's almost like it's this interesting trade-off because it's like when things were moving so quickly, we didn't have the time. We were too distracted. We didn't have the opportunity to focus on the things that actually don't lead to a conducive or to the things that aren't conducive to living and leading a healthy, fulfilled life. And it's only when everything was stopped that we started to really be able to see it in our own lives. And it's like that's the trade off. The Hierophant would have preferred for things to just keep going because then you don't notice you're too busy on other things that you don't see it. You keep buying into what everybody is selling you. But there was a trade off. The Hierophant stopped the wheel because, again, its time was coming to an end. And it's like the Hierophant has to trust that how it's programmed us, that we won't break it, that we'll be loyal to it. Even if we go somewhere else, we'll still buy into the same brand, the same line of thinking, right? Different brand, different packaging, same product overall. But Spirit is also, again, in that High Priestess, put their cards on the table that we're going to see and that we're going to find what we need to really liberate and free ourselves and to move forward in the way that we want. And that's the space of judgment. It's not necessarily judgment because we're being judged. It's judgment because of the pressure of the times, I guess. So this is how this is set up. So I didn't put a cloth down today, so don't judge me. I'm just gonna take a picture. I'm just gonna take a picture. Hold up. Don't judge me. You know what? Judge me if you want to, honestly. I don't have the luxury of caring right now. I don't have the luxury of being concerned with appearances. So, and I don't really care, honestly. Because if I did care, I would have done something. So it's not necessarily ambivalent. Okay. So this is how the cards are laid out. Ooh, goodness. There you go. And I'll probably use this as a thumbnail. So at the top, hold on, let me send this to my iPad real quick. All right, because now it'll be easier to see. So at the top is where I put the magus, the hold up. Oh, so at the top is where I put the magus, or the nocturne, the two of pentacles, the space that we're navigating. 55, 55. With so this was before, this was after, and that's at the top. And then this side branched down into what came out first, which was the south node on the devil, with the dynasty laying on top of that magus, and then branching out into the sacred fire. Then on this side is where I put the force, which is strength, and you can see the north node right there, with the politic sitting on top of the ebony shield, Queen of Pentacles, and branching out into the tower. Under that, after that, I found Echidna, because Echidna clarifies Charybdis. And Charybdis, again, is sitting in the space of in between the North Node world and the South Node world. It's the whirlpool that we have to cross. And so I put the High Priestess up top and then Judgment, Cerberus on the bottom. And that set the framework as like clarifiers slash significators for the cards that I pulled, right? And this shape, it's almost like a tree. The High Priestess spread was built in the shape of a tree. So that's why I pulled the High Priestess spread, right? And you can kind of see it. So this is card one with 2 and 3 here branching off into this path, 4 and 5 branching off into this path. It's like this is the top of the tree, and then the bottom of the tree is over here with the Hierophant, the Wheel of Life or Wheel of Fortune, the Four of Cups, and then the Fool and the Star sort of off to the side. And then in the middle is the Ace of Pentacles. This is the energy of the nesting possibility, right? Because in the tree, you have the knot or whatever, and that's where a squirrel might make its nest. Sitting in the nest of the tree that is the High Priestess is literally the Ace of Pentacles, literally a whole new world, which again isn't surprising because that's kind of sort of what this is about. As we leave one world, we enter a new one. That's what the table looks like right now. Oh, okay, got you. Exactly. What was it? Why is it that feet smell and noses run? Well, we might as well look at today. What's this say today? 'Cause I'm not doing anything else, probably. Where's my what? Where's that? And I'm wearing my Phoenix shirt today. Let's go. Coincidence? Maybe. Here it is. I gotta go to the restroom. Oh. Oh wow. Oh wow. Well, talking about the Emperor and the Empress. A traditional wedding gift of 5 almonds represents a wish for health, wealth, happiness, long life, and children. So that's what we're talking about today. The potential for health, wealth, happiness, long life, and children as a wedding gift. And it's sort of like shaped like a star almost. All right, I'm actually going to run to the restroom really quick because I got to go. And I would rather go now before I dig into all of this. So I'll timestamp it when I get back. It took me literally a whole hour. Oh, snap. So they're grounded now. I would also, yeah, it's like it's time jumping, and it could be that since they're on the ground now instead of in the trees, it's like it's grounded, it's stabilized. It's like here. So I'll be right back. Enjoy Saturn and my messy bed. Also, I'm gonna get me some iced coffee, so it'll take me a second. I think I forgot to mute my mic. Pretty sure I forgot to mute my mic. If you can hear me, I forgot to mute my mic. Yep. No, wait. Can you hear me? Hello? The little bar isn't moving. Yeah, it's not muted, but I assume you can hear me. Usually it moves. Okay. So, in the beginning, oh crap, I'm not trying to get iced coffee on anything. Please don't make me make a mess. Please don't let me make a mess. So in the beginning, I said that certain energies can't approach us if it would override our reality, and maybe that's true for certain like high level energies. Like yeah, for sure, right? But I think also it's sort of speaking to, especially with that Empress sort of being hushed. Um, one second. Okay, we're back. I just had an obligation pop up. So maybe obligation is something else, right? Not just distractions, but also obligations. And because of our obligations, it's almost like it could be the space of there would be things that we wouldn't buy into as readily if we weren't obligated, right? Like if you have a family, then in some ways you can't be as choosy or picky about the work you do, right? Because it's like if you wanted to put yourself through a position where you go without as you wait for something, as you put your faith and belief into something, then that's one thing. But like if you have people who are dependent on you who need to eat, then it's like, well, I got to bite the bullet. I'd rather not, but my baby's got to be fed. I have to do something for my mom. So, anyway, let's see. So, I've gone through. I'm just now noticing there are runes on this tower. Oh, girl, well, okay. So, I ain't doing all of them, but because this one repeats. It looks like Mars, and then I think it's planets. So I'm gonna go to my handy dandy book of maps, and I'm gonna use the cheat sheet to see what these are. Um, I think those are cuneiform, Sumerian cuneiform, maybe. I hope I have the book of maps on here. I should have it on here. Yeah, I do, because here's the Pride Tarot. So, book of maps. Uh, let me find it. Oh, I need a timestamp. I'll say 112. All right. So let's see. Here we go. It should be on here. Yes. Right? So I think Mars is just Mars. Yeah. And then there is the Emperor window. Huh? And then Fish, Newt, or Noon, the Reaper. Right? Yep. And then Apocalypse, Tooth. So, and Mars is Mars. So the thing that's repeating on the tower, it's Mars, the Emperor, Death, Judgment. Mars, the Emperor, Death, Judgment. Mars, the Emperor, Death, Judgment. And then we see Mars here. Also, there's a volcano in the back. And this is Mars. So before I get into the myth of Charybdis, I think it feels like what makes this especially difficult in navigating is that there are a lot of partial truths. Where's my coffee? Okay. I need to set this here. So there we go. If you remember at the beginning of the video, I said that the on the healer there was a symbol on her chest that reminded me of judgment, but it's like when it's like a not a bond, but it's like if you put it up then it disperses something, and then when you push it down then it seals it, right? It's like you pull it up and stuff starts spraying all over the place. And judgment, it was pulled up. In the healer, it was sealed. And it feels like that's what this is on the rump of the lion, in the force. And when it comes to the demon, we have the same energy, but not only is it sealed within this box, but it's also upside down, right? It's like it's upside down and it's enclosed. But that makes sense because, again, like we're dealing with the nocturne. We have these two wheels of life, but they're like opposite. And again, it's interesting. Here we have like sort of Cancer, Capricorn, top and bottom, and then we have Gemini, Sagittarius, top and bottom, and the nodes just transited. Well, I guess last year. It was interesting last year when I noticed it that the nodes had transited from Cancer, Capricorn to Gemini, Sagittarius. It's also interesting because the nodes transit retrograde through the zodiac, so they move backwards. And I was also thinking about how even retrograde is something that like you only experience retrograde when you're not the sun. To the sun, everything is direct always. We're always moving forward. It's our perspective from our position that makes things appear to go backwards in the sky, even though in reality, everything is constantly moving forward. And that's sort of another, it's not necessarily something to, the thing about Earth is that many things can be true at the same time. And so it's not to say that like retrogrades aren't a thing, because if you look at the sun, everything is always direct. But it's it's if you can accept, welcome back. If you can accept that duality is a thing, it's like what somebody commented when I made that invitation video. Then it's like you can play with it. You can choose the perspective that works or serves you more in the situation without neglecting things that are obvious, not obvious, but things that are need to be addressed, right? It's like if you switch between tropical and Vedic almost. But it's like, you're switching between tropical, Vedic, and heliocentric, where everything is always direct. One second. One moment, please. All right, sorry. It's that like both are true energy. So anyway, because of the nocturne, like we can see why like one is upright, one is sort of in reverse. And then the south node, and this is the thing that I've been saying about like integrity and devil energy, It's like if you have integrity, then, well, first and foremost, we're always on our path, right? The path is something that will re it's like a labyrinth, right? It'll always sort of convert itself to make sure you're moving forward. But it's like when you have integrity, then you can't be tempted outside of that. And it only leads you forward. When you aren't someone that devil energy can put in the box, if you aren't someone that devil energy can sort of warp, then you always move forward. South node turns into the north node, and it's no different than strength. But it's because like you're not giving into it sort of energy, right? So anyway. Oh look, these are both Mercury. So Mercury bleeds into Mercury in Virgo that takes us down to Capricorn. The Ebony Shield doesn't have an element here, but this is Martian. We have the Sun in Aries, we have Leo, and then we have Aries. So we have the Sun in Aries, and then we have Leo and Aries. Or Leo and Mars, sorry. We have the Sun in Aries, and then we have Leo and Mars. So yeah, the thing that makes this difficult is that there are half truths. Oh, I didn't even show you that. Goodness. Right? So I'll leave this one out for now. We know that we're navigating this one Ouroboros to go from one world to the other, right? In the Magician, we see two Ouroboroses. As above, so below. They are intertwined. In the Devil, we see his tail turns into sort of one of them. In the Tower, we see the tower, or we see another one of them wrapped around the tower. That's why it's like there's this energy of like truth and lies on both sides. This is the axe of Shiva that removes corruption with the two moons there. So shout out to that chariot again. The moon is moving forward with the mission. And so it may be a little intense right now. This magician is coming out on the side of the devil. This is what connects, right? Through the space of this Ten of Pentacles, right? Because this is what it looks like on this side. If I can hold them up. This is what it looks like on this side, right? It branches down here and then it moves out towards that path. And they both share Mercury. That's Mercury and Virgo. I wonder, because when the sun is in Virgo, the moon will probably be in Virgo, or Mercury will probably be in Virgo. And again, it's almost like that Pisces full moon energy. And this is like everything that we already know. This is everything familiar. All right, let me, goodness. Woo! Here we go. I'm like, where did my cards go? There are so many just like little ties and connections to, it's like it's self-referencing. Usually something self-referencing is cool, but it feels like in this case, because it's so self-referencing, it makes it easy for us to get lost in it. And it feels like with this tower energy, again, it's like there are truths and lies. It's almost like the snakes protect the foundation from being destroyed while everything else sort of falls apart. And in that, it feels like not everything necessarily needs to go. There are some things that do and some things that don't. And again, it's this, what was it? Mars, Emperor, Death, Judgment. Mars, Emperor, Death, Judgment. And it could be the Tower. Tower, Emperor, Death, Judgment, Tower, Emperor, Death, Judgment, because Mars is the Tower. Or it could be masculine energy going through that process. Okay. This is interesting. It feels like, I don't know why I want to say a rogue faction. It feels like there's a rogue faction of masculine energies that are bringing Empress energy like back, that are supporting and backing Empress energy. And it feels like it's a rogue faction of masculine energies, because most masculine energies would be satisfied with their position in things. And in some way, shape, form, and fashion, if you follow the biblical story, we're all children of Adam. And so we're born in masculine energy. We're born in polarized masculine energy, right? What was masculine within Adam was polarized and split to create Eve. But Eve is, it's still masculine energy, right? Eve was created from Adam. It's a subset of masculine energy. Lilith was the one who was created whole. Lilith holds all the femininity, or all the feminine energy within her. And we use these sort of Adam and Eve, we use this Adam and Eve system. Goodness, can't get a break today. It's 12:12. Um, it's like we use this Adam and Eve dynamic to try to sort of find what is masculine and what is feminine. But I think it's important to remember that Eve was created from Adam, from Adam's rib. And the rib protects the heart, right? But the thing about protecting the heart is that it keeps the heart from growing. So, anyway, that's another reason why it may be that feminine energy has been silenced, because we're not in a position to really experience her fullness. Excuse me. So let's look at Charybdis. Charybdis is in the Odyssey. Okay, thank you. I was like, it's been a minute since, I read the Odyssey, but okay. So Charybdis is a sea monster in Greek mythology. She, with the sea monster Scylla, appears as a challenge to epic characters such as Odysseus, Jason, and Aeneas. Scholarship locates her in the Strait of Messina. The sea monster. Hold up, wait. It's fine. Okay, so the sea monster Charybdis was believed to live under a small rock on one side of a narrow channel. Opposite her was Scylla, another sea monster that lived inside a much larger rock. The sides of the strait were within an arrow shot of each other, and sailors attempting to avoid one of them would come in reach of the other. To be between Scylla and Charybdis, therefore, means to be presented with two opposite dangers, the task being to find a route that avoids both. 3 times a day, Charybdis swallowed a huge amount of water before belching it back out again, creating large whirlpools capable of dragging a ship underwater. In some variations of the story, Charybdis was simply a large whirlpool instead of a sea monster. And that, like, between Scylla and Charybdis kind of sort of reminded me of like between a rock and a hard place. Who is this? Oh. What? Hold up. Hold up. Hold up, hold up, hold up. Are these not? Oh, yeah, because here's Typhon and Echidna. Girl, the parentage is debatable. I thought it was Echidna. Maybe it's not Echidna, because this one said. Well, they also, sometimes Charybdis is a monster, sometimes it's just a whirlpool. A later myth makes Charybdis the daughter of Poseidon and Gaia, and living as a loyal servant to her father. Poseidon is Neptune. Neptune is the hanged man, it's the outlaw. I don't think there is a Poseidon in that. Like, there should be. Like, there should be like a merman. Charybdis aided her father Poseidon in his feud with her paternal uncle Zeus, and as such helped him engulf lands and islands in water. Zeus, angry over the land she stole from him, captured and chained her to the seabed. Charybdis was then cursed by the god and transformed into a hideous bladder of a monster, with flippers for arms and legs, and an uncontrollable thirst for the sea. As such, she drank the water from the sea thrice a day to quench it, which created whirlpools. She lingered on a rock with Scylla facing her directly on another rock, making a strait. In some myths, Charybdis was a voracious woman who stole oxen from Hercules or Heracles and was hurled by the thunderbolt of Zeus into the sea, where she retained her voracious nature. I don't think the myth is going to do Charybdis any justice. If there's anything that we've learned about mythology and what effect of water, if any? What do you mean? Well, I guess water is the emotions. It's also interesting. Oh, I answered you. Okay. It's also interesting because again, the Knight of Cups was before the Empress. Odysseus faced both Charybdis and Scylla while rowing through a narrow channel. He ordered his men to avoid Charybdis, thus forcing them to pass near Scylla, which resulted in the deaths of 6 of his men. Later stranded on a raft, Odysseus was swept back through the strait and passed near Charybdis. His raft was sucked into her maw, but he survived by clinging to a fig tree growing on a rock over her lair. On the next outflow of water, when his raft was expelled, Odysseus recovered it and paddled away safely. So he passed both Scylla and Charybdis. I would say that, like, he survived Charybdis, but like it was just him in a raft, right? If he had a boat full of people, I don't know if the fig tree would have supported the weight of everyone. And it's also interesting because the fig tree was the one that was cursed by Jesus, right? Because it grew out of season. Well, gotta go with that one. Jesus and the fig tree. Fig tree. Jesus curses a fig tree and clears the temple courts. He was hungry, and the fig ain't bear no fruit. The next day, as they were leaving Bethany, Jesus was hungry. Seeing in the distance a fig tree and leaf, he went to find out if it had any fruit. When he reached it, he found nothing but leaves, because it was not the season for figs. Then he said to the tree, "May no one ever eat fruit from you again." And his disciples heard him say it. On reaching Jerusalem, Jesus entered the temple courts and began driving out those who were buying and selling there. He overturned the tables of the money changers and the benches of those selling doves, and would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. It's interesting because it's like people are selling doves, and wasn't like, didn't the dove and the fig branch? Oh, it was an olive branch. I thought it was a fig branch. It's an olive branch. I should have known it was an olive branch, actually. Yeah. Olive branch, the flood was over. Okay. Noah's Ark. Let's do a little Googling. Yeah, it's an olive branch. Okay. And would not allow anyone to carry um would not allow anyone to carry merchandise through the temple courts. And as he taught them, he said, "It is not written, my house will be called a house of prayer for all." Is it not written, "My house will be called a house of prayer for all nations," but you have made it a den of robbers? The chief priests and the teachers of the law heard this and began looking for a way to kill him, for they feared him, because the whole crowd was amazed at his teaching. When evening came, Jesus and his disciples went out of the city. In the morning, as they went along, they saw the fig tree withered from the roots. Peter remarked and said to Jesus, "Rabbi, look, the fig tree you cursed has withered." "Have faith in God," Jesus answered. "Truly I tell you, if anyone says to this mountain, 'Go throw yourself into the sea,' and does not doubt in their heart, but believes what they say will happen, it will be done for them. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it and it will be yours. And when you stand praying, if you hold anything against anyone, forgive them, so that your Father in heaven may forgive you your sins." So that was Mark 11:12 to 25 in the New International Version. It's funny that we're talking about mountains throwing themselves into the sea, and Charybdis and Scylla being, these two rocks that form a strait. Anyway. Yeah, the golden calf. I was just reading that. So I guess the only thing that like confuses me though, it said it wasn't the season for figs. He found nothing but leaves because it was not the season for figs. And I'm just Patrick. I ain't trying to speak against Jesus, but for me, there's a little bit of, it's like, don't use your faith to curse something that is not in the season to bear fruit, right? Because if it is the season for figs now, and if he goes back to that tree, because it's cursed and because it rotted from the root, he wouldn't have a fruit when it's in season. And that, it's that part where it says, "And when you stand praying, if you hold anything against anyone, forgive them, so that your Father in heaven may forgive you your sins." Like, is it fair though to expect something out of season? Why didn't he use his faith to make the fig tree bear fruit out of season? If he could do anything, right? Why curse it for it not being or doing what it's not supposed to in that time when you can use that same gift or ability to make it bear fruit? And when we incarnate here, things get weird. So um sometimes it's like we don't, when you're hungry, it's like he didn't have a Snickers bar. So I don't mean to be so what's the word, sacrilegious, but I mean that's why I'm like, if I was a disciple, I'd be like, hold up, wait, like before you curse the fig tree, like can you just bless it to bear fruit out of season? Because if you curse it, that's not going to fill your belly either. You're still going to be hungry, and it's not the season for figs. And God sort of is the one who created the fig tree, who determines the season for the bearing of fruit for fig trees. So you're cursing something that was created as it was created because it's not giving you what you want from it out of its season to give that to you. And is it a teaching moment? Yeah. But it also would have been a teaching moment if you would have gotten it to bear fruit. But I'm not Jesus, so I'm not I don't, like I said, I ain't trying to do whatever, but exactly. Excuse me. I haven't even started these cards. I'll say myths and readings at 112 because I ain't even really started reading these. Myths, scripture, first impressions. Oh gosh. Look at it from a disrespect level. It would have yielded to his words. Oh, here's the Ten of Swords and the Father of Swords. I was like, I feel like I saw that. This is interesting. So at the top, disrespect from the tree is the money changers. Oh, you're fine, D. So disrespect from the tree is the same as the money changers in the temple. And it's also interesting, again, it's that thing about the time of the Hierophant being over. The chief priests and the teachers of the law heard him say that, the house of prayer is, my house will be called a house of prayer for all nations, but you've made it a den of robbers. The chief priests and teachers heard Jesus call them out in front of everybody as robbers, and then they started plotting on how to kill him. For they feared him because the whole crowd was amazed at his teachings. So not only was the emperor trying to kill Jesus or whatever, but the priests and who are they? The priests and the teachers were also trying to kill Jesus. And it's like, did Jesus have any friends? Obedience is Bethany's sacrifice. In season or out of season. I get that, but I guess from my it's more like it's more of like what the power of faith can do. Right? Like if anything is commanded of me, regardless of if I'm ready or not, I'm gonna do it. Right. But for me, it's like I'm looking at it as a viewpoint of what my sort of faith has the power to do, and how sometimes it's like kind of sort of how some people can fall into envy and begin to use their gifts in a very sort of envious and malicious way rather than using their gifts to sort of just bring themselves abundance, right? How they would sort of take from others instead of just creating their own. For it being what it is, that's one thing. But within the context of this, I'm reading it sort of differently, just to clarify. And it's interesting because the Seven of Pentacles is crowning, or the Seven of Cups is crowning this whole thing. There's like six different things that we could do to give us more moon energy. The moon looked like that last night. Did anybody see the moon last night? It looked like this. It was like it was like golden. It was huge. It was that crescent. I was like, "What?" And then I'm trying to take a picture and a cloud just moved right in front of it. I'm like, "Oh my gosh." There's only one cup that points towards the sun. And again, within the context of this, he could have used his word to make it bear fruit out of season and to eat that fruit rather than cursing it for not doing what it wasn't supposed to out of season. And he also didn't tell it to bear fruit. Well, maybe in the story he did and it didn't. Maybe that's the part that they didn't include. Jesus told the fig tree to bear fruit and it didn't bear fruit in that time, so he cursed it. I can see that happening. That makes sense. That makes more sense to me. Not that it needs to, but again, that because it received the word to bear fruit and it didn't, then it was cursed, rather than just sort of like walking up and cursing it. It didn't seem like he would just walk up and curse it. But I feel like the Seven of Cups sitting at the top of this means that this can go literally anyway. Literally anyway. We're between Scylla and Charybdis, trying to navigate through to this Ace of Pentacles new world. Oh my gosh, why is that literally this? So if we look at this in a different way, right? Like we're navigating up. This is Charybdis, this is Scylla, the two monsters who live inside these rocks. And we're navigating this whirlpool over here and then this big old Scylla over here, trying to just like, and then you literally see the ship right there. Well, you see two ships. I feel like that's also I feel like that also sits in the space of that Knight of Swords in between the Emperor and the Empress. Something needs to be spoken. Not only it's like, the power of our faith to change things, but it's like before we go and curse something, we should speak a blessing upon it. And if after it receives that blessing, it does not bear fruit, then we move on to something else. This is so weird. It's so just like, it's such a ball of just like tangled up mess. This isn't what I thought it was initially. This is that energy. I think it was in a weekly release when Lilith came out as the energy that was on the unicorn and the Two of Cups rather than that fiery dark queen. And it was this energy of like what was light has been put into the dark, and what was dark now proclaims itself as light. Because we would think that North Node strength is what we need to do to navigate out of this, but it's actually the demon. But it's in reverse. Remember, so we're not listening to it. It's this space of like facing our fears, overcoming challenges, because those challenges are what limits us the most from, it's like it separates us the most from the truth of ourselves, right? So this is in reverse. Because again, we're still doing that north node energy. We're not doing this weird south node thing. We're turning this upright. We're turning it on its head. Because Hierophant is behind this. Again, that's the ones that Jesus cast out of the church because they were in there doing weird stuff. And they were like, well, how do we take care of him? Because we want to do weird stuff. And the people listen to him. Because this, honestly, this feels like a convening of those old masculine energies that don't want to let go of control. And so what they do is they cause this tower by stopping the wheel of life from moving forward. And I don't remember. It's like I saw this card somewhere and some in the context of some reading, and it was presenting us something to get us to not do the work, right? She presents us this one fruit because we're hungry. And it's almost like we forsake this fruit because we know that there are fruits out there in the world that we don't have to accept under all these shady conditions. Like this is with the shield here, this is very much like a contractual energy, but this is like the fine print that you don't read because you're so like you want this. And so she was a little twisted. She comes in to offer you something to get you off path. This is the energy of that inn that welcomes weary travelers because it knows how long you've been on this journey. It knows how tired you are, so it's going to offer you something. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it doesn't get you where you want to be. This is what you need to have to resist this path. This is what you need to overcome to go down this path. And so it's not that they're not what they are. Like I told you in the beginning, get up off that thing. Wearing orange. Oh snap! I got a face mask that I want to use, but I haven't yet. Oh, look at this! In the Sacred Fire card, we have Mars, Aries, and Leo. Right. So Sacred Fire is sitting with Mars, Aries, Leo. The tower is coming down on Mars, the Emperor, Death, and Judgment. But if we're not careful in this energy, we'll continue to create and recreate and manifest what we've already experienced with no changes. This is interesting. We can see that the dragon and the phoenix are chained to the devil by the arm, but it feels like in actuality, they are chaining the devil. They are binding him. Because again, we're taking this reversed energy where we are the incorruptible, where we can see darkness and or where we see shadow and we can find the light that it obstructs. They chain him. They keep him in check, which then paves the way for the ushering in of this new era. And that is the scepter that was in that Empress card. Where I was like, I don't know where this comes from. Like, is that from the Emperor? Like, I don't think it's from the Emperor because, like, Empress has her own birthright. And that's what the Conservator is, right? And the Conservator, Four of Pentacles, at the top of the deck, or under the sun. Hey, look, see, there's the torch from that Ace of Wands, getting us closer to the sun, which is the warrior. The conservator, sun in Capricorn, bringing light to that Capricornian energy. Here's the sun. Love that. Um, the conservator is a protector, and he's exposed to all four elements. Like I said, in this place of sort of stillness, we have the ability to access all four of those elements. And again, this path is defined by the magician, the presence of all four elements. But it's because we're bringing light to those Capricornian energies that restricts its ability to sort of like distort and make things weird. That's why this is a gamble. That's why High Priestess, this is Spirit here throwing all the cards on the table, hoping that we see the things that we need to see as we navigate through this straight. Because that's what. Hold up, wait, I'll show you. I'll find it. Since I'm already looking at cards. Because if you look at the Hierophant card in this deck, you see two pillars. The Hierophant is both Charybdis and Scylla. You see these two pillars? These two pillars, Charybdis, Scylla. And we're trying to navigate between them beyond this to find the glory of the divine for ourselves. This is that tower. It's like this is the top of a tower energy. This is what's coming down. That's why also, I'll show you real quick since I'm like pulling cards. Here it is, the Ten of Swords. Wow, that was really close. That's why in the Ten of Swords, this feminine energy is coming down and impaling this. You see that? Where is it? I literally just had that card. Here it is. That hand sign is the same as that one. And then we have the Father of Swords with the King of Swords, or with the Ten of Swords here. And then if you look at the top of this Hierophant pillar, you see that like flower motif. It's only a fragment of what the sun truly has to offer, right? And this is that infinity sign. That is. Oh no, where did she go? Hold up. Oh gosh, I still ain't read these cards yet. It's fine. Maybe I won't even have to read them. Maybe they're just here as placeholders, right? I honestly kind of sort of feel like I don't. Because under judgment, no, where is she? Where was she? I saw the Princess of Wands, but I didn't mention her. But I saw her. Oh, darn it. Something told me to say something, but I didn't. It's fine. Because in this deck, the Princess of Wands is this infinity sign. And it's sitting on top of that. That's us being in this space. The Princess Page of Wands, that's us beginning to experience the power of what lies in an authentic soul as we approach more and more and more that space of, I guess, divinity within us. So that happened. And again, that I feel like that's what makes navigating this interesting, because the Hierophant has controlled the wheel for so long. And now that control is slipping out of that, or now that the time is passing out of that, it can't, it loses its footing. And honestly, I feel like this is a crow that, like, this crow has taken the key from the Hierophant. The Hierophant no longer holds the keys. This crow is trying to get you to see the key that sort of lies within you, because things are about to turn. It's about to be this energy. And look at this, right? Because as this one cup that faces the sun comes up, those six go down. And it puts us with the foundation of like the Hierophant and the wheel. It puts us in this like sort of like lost ish space with the Four of Cups sitting in between the Fool and the Star. And I remember these came out together with the Hierophant, because it was like the Hierophant is selling us things, it's promising us things that it doesn't have the capability to fulfill. It can sell it to you, it can convince you to use your belief in a way that will create the illusion of these things, but it lacks substance. And it reminds me of what came the other day. It was like we sort of align to these paths or to these beliefs of ascension that sort of make us feel like we're moving up, but it lacks substance. In reality, it's like we're not really going anywhere. That's the Charybdis and the Scylla that Hierophant energy represents. It keeps us stuck in that strait, unable to go beyond. Yeah, see? Because with the Five of Wands and the Ace of Cups, clarifying one path off of the Seven of Cups, it's seeing through all of the illusion, seeing through all of the deception, seeing through all of the obligation, seeing through the things that we've been conditioned and trained to project, even in spiritual spaces. Because again, like the Hierophant isn't just like 3D government. The Hierophant also occupies spiritual spaces. The Hierophant can twist and warp spiritual spaces just as much as it does everything else to keep you more or less stuck where you are, which is why it's important that we learn to hear the divine for ourselves. This is in the space of that chaos, finding the one cup. And at the same time we do that, we release our dependence on this old energy. This is a new masculine. We release our dependence on old masculine energy, and we allow space for a more divine masculine energy to come in, right? Just like we need to, it was just 20222. Just like we need to allow space and room for the truth of divine feminine energy to come in and be what it is, we need to allow the same space for divine masculine energy to come in and be what it is. And I'm not saying it's wrong, but so often we follow these narratives of like divine masculine, or it's like there is no divine masculine. No, it's like divine masculine energy is like toxic, and it's like it's doing this, it's healing. And in my mind, it's like if something is toxic and all of this, it's not divine. It doesn't matter if it's masculine, feminine, or whatever. If something is tending more and more towards separation and just like lack of, if something is not compassionate, if something is not caring, if something is not whole in resonance, then it's not divine. And it's like we're so quick to put that divine label on so many things. We're so quick to buy into these narratives and stories that, again, like I said in the beginning, that I didn't know that it's on the 20th, right? Oh, it's on the solstice. Father's Day is on the solstice this year. No, the 20th is like a Tuesday. No, it's not. Yeah, Father's Day is on the solstice. Jupiter's retrograding on Father's Day this year. I'm not speaking to the divine masculine because the divine masculine is already divine. The divine masculine already knows. I'm speaking to other energies that will be labeled as divine masculine energy. Divine masculine energy is already complete, it's already whole, it's already learned. Divine masculine energy knows how to treat divine feminine energy. We're in this toxic emotional feminine energy being falsely elevated into a space of divine feminine energy, and at the same time trying to falsely elevate toxic emotional masculine energy. But it's the toxic emotional masculine energy that sits in the space of the Hierophant that has free reign. So it will elevate you into a space that you don't hold, because then you elevate it into a space that it does not hold. And what it does is it separates you from the truth of what that divine energy is, to the point where now, in your reality, since it's something that you already know so well, you don't allow true divine feminine, you don't allow true divine masculine. You got pages playing emperors and empresses, which in your reality, because your reality, your beliefs code your reality. And again, Hierophant is all about manipulating belief, both physically and in the spiritual. It manipulates your belief, keeps you in these boxes, in this framework where you don't experience the truth of what is to be, which is why so many energies are coming forward now. And since the game has been set up the way it's been set up, it's easier for divine feminine energy, for goddess energy to come in and tell you the truth of what it is. And the more we accept the truth, the more we can see what is really divine feminine energy, the more that we're simultaneously open to seeing what is divine masculine energy in a space that is so heavily masculinely influenced, which is why I said we're all children of Adam. Eve was made from Adam. Nothing about Eve is divine feminine. Eve is not divine feminine. She's like some off-brand feminine that is derived from masculine energy. Watch the Lilith versus Dark Eve video that Russell from Rustling Around did. This is a true masculine energy rising from what this is what we call divine masculine right now. This is true divine masculine. And again, it comes in when we can see through all of this and find that one cup that is the actual truth. When everything else leads to these crescent moon, half truths, partial truths, and that's over all of this. It's all of this like partially true energy, but it's partially true enough that we buy into it. And what sits at the balance, what sits in the heart of all of this is this Ace of Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles isn't even a new world, it's just the world. This is literally about over here how Hierophant shapes our beliefs, which influences our reality. And then us being this in this position to really find the truth, to liberate what is divine from that which is weird, shadowy Hierophant stuff, to form this reality. This is the same, right? Here it's easier to see that there are these two different worlds, but in reality there is one world. It's the world you live in. We can see it, it's like it makes it easier to comprehend. It makes it easier for us in human form to navigate when we think like new timeline, old timeline. We're going through a portal, we're making dimensional shifts. But in reality, there's only the now moment. There is only the timeline that we're on. And our beliefs and our actions shape and mold that and recreate it and recreate it and recreate it. Like Hierophant plays a very, very good game. And Hierophant uses the devil. The devil is one of the tools of the Hierophant. That's why in a lot of like religious or spiritual systems, they like when they tell you what you can do, they tell you what you can't do. Those are the two pillars of the Hierophant. It allows and it disallows. It permits and it prohibits. Two sides of the same coin, and the coin is the Hierophant. which is why it's so important for us to not be so quick, I guess, to accept things in whole that may hold partial resonance. Even with me, right? Because I'm no better than anybody. I'm human just like all of us down here human. But it's like if you put enough truth in a batch of lies, an undiscerning tongue will take it. The whole batch, it'll take it in whole. But that world is not sustainable. Those timelines are closing and falling apart. And so Charybdis is more than just emotions. It's also spirit. It's also spirituality and that body of water that's churning. Water is that which flows through everything, at least on this planet. Everything has water in it, right? It's the fluid. Even blood is like a certain percentage of water. So, all right, I got to go to the restroom and I got to sort of like get to doing things. Thank you for being here, D. I wish you all the best in navigating this. I'm actually going to, I didn't even timestamp this, but I'll timestamp it when I get back. I'm going to go to the bathroom and then do a final shuffle. So, oh, oh, no problem. And yet, like, that's this, and I think it came out recently, though. It's like whatever sort of salvation or whatever ascension, I guess, a lot of us has been going through, there's no substance in it. And you can tell, and this isn't to like call anybody out, it's not to be harsh, it's not to, this isn't like my ego making me sort of better than other people, but it's like you can tell how much substance was lacking in certain spirituality and religion by how much it was shook last year, right? Like if you believed in whatever you were believing in, if you believed that you were healed and progressing on your journey, you were doing your shadow work, and then you went through last year and you were in a position that was anything but in your power and becoming brighter and brighter and brighter as the world got darker, it shows you how void it was. It shows you where it was lacking in substance. And now it's like we're in an opportunity. We're being called to a space where we need to do something with substance. Ooh, I didn't mean to just blow these off the table. Hold up. It's a lot deeper than we thought it was. It's a lot deeper than we were convinced it was. And honestly, at the time, it was sufficient for the time. But the times have changed now. Now we actually need to be in a space of doing more. Because it's not for us to be so easily swayed or influenced by our external reality, like regardless the magnitude of what happens. Was it an unprecedented time? Yes. Was a lot of stuff happening? Was it a lot to process and hold on to? Yes. But in the divine, you should be able to find something that is more solid than anything that can happen and transpire in your reality, regardless of how little you're prepared for it. And it's like I don't know, it does ourself, I guess, a disservice by not going deeper. But that's the game of the Hierophant. The Hierophant is not positioned to actually give you anything of substance. It can't. The Hierophant is a bridge between you and the divine. Knight of Wands, Hanuman. I don't know anything. I've read about Hanuman. All I know is that he's in the Hindu pantheon. The Nine of Cups, Kraken. See, that's the Kraken Leviathan that keeps popping up. Okay. With the Star, the Tooth Fairy, Judgment, Cerberus, Echidna, Four of Pentacles, the High Priestess, Tooth Fairy, and the Demon. So this is everything that we just read, right? This was the clarifiers that I used, flanked by the Star and the Devil. And again, it's like, if we've already been convinced of something, if we're already so well established in our beliefs that don't make room, King of Wands, Anubis at the bottom of the deck, that's the Tower. The Knight of Wands, Nine of Cups with the King of Wands at the bottom. With this being Anubis, this holds the space of resurrection. And then the Ten of Wands, Dragon. With the Eight of Wands, Hydra. And the Ace of Swords, Quetzalcoatl. I feel like it just speaks to the efficiency of Hierophant energy. And it feels like the divine is putting us in a space to really purge that, to purge the beliefs that don't serve us, to purge that which is false, that would claim itself as true. And a whole bunch of planets are retrograde right now. And honestly, it's like, if your life is falling apart, maybe it's your karma. I don't know. I'm not here to undo anybody's karma. That's not my job. And it's not something I want to do. Because you should have been in good energy the first time. You should have did it right the first time. And I think, again, it's like we get so used to getting out of our lessons. You pray to Archangel Michael, you pray to the divine while you're in the space of a tower, and they feel bad for you, so they pull you out of it. And you don't learn anything, so you go and you repeat it. And the divine, it's like it's in an energy now. It's like, no. Because if anything, it's just proved how much it doesn't serve you to continuously be bailed out of the things that you do. You make choices and decisions You own up and you handle the consequences. Now, if you learn, then yeah, it's like, you don't need to be in this anymore because you've learned what it is that you need to learn. So then you get that exit. Knight of Swords, Two of Cups. Again, this is that true, but they're going in opposite directions. This is that true divine feminine energy. This is the truth of Lilith, not that weird queen of the evil, whatever. Like, this is the truth of Lilith. This Knight of Wands, it's missing a head, right? With the headless horseman. Oh, this is the Page of Swords. This is the Page of Swords. It's not even the knight. I saw it on a horse and I assumed it was a knight. This is a Page of Swords. I'm glad I read that. Bottom of the deck is Echidna. The mother of monsters and all that stuff, right? Echidna holds the space of Lilith. Echidna is like Greco-Roman Lilith. She gave birth to all these monsters and blah, 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 right? Because that's what they say that Lilith did. She gave birth to monsters. But that's a very Page of Swords belief that gets you even further and further and further from the truth of what she is. I literally just thought today, I was like, oh, I should do a weekly release. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I feel like it's a weekly release, but there was no foot soaking meditation involved. So it's not released. It's just something that we need to deal with. We need to face, we need to own up to. So, you know. Unfortunately, it's like we don't have the luxury that we had before. I mean, this is what people like asked for. This is what y'all did that global meditation on 4/4/2020 to do, right? But you don't get world peace. You don't get resolution without solving the problems. And you can't solve problems that you can't see. So step number one is to make you aware of the challenges and make you aware of the issues. And then it's on you to sort of do what you need to get that outcome that you desire. Right? And I feel like that too, in some part, is the Hierophant's game. You ask for more. It scares you, basically. You run back to the comfort of the Hierophant. So the Hierophant now positions itself. You rely on the Hierophant even more. And again, it's a game about permitting and prohibiting. Permitting and prohibiting. It allows you to experience that which would lead you to depend on it more. That's why it's a call to go beyond and know the divine for yourself. The devil in reverse is the Hierophant. It was a catch-22. It's Hierophant on both sides, right? That's that Charybdis Scylla energy. And there's this narrow strip of water that you have to navigate between them. That narrow strip of water being the truth and the fullness of the divine that's trying to present itself to you. Your beliefs are really powerful. Hierophant knows that. Here's the Knight of Swords. Son of Swords, Son of Cups. Before we can elevate, before we can elevate into the space of King, Queen, and then evolve into an Emperor, Empress, this is like the head and the heart getting on the same page. What did I say? That came out recently. Like either yesterday or the day before. The mind and the heart aligning on something that moves us forward. See, because I said that it came through that the Son of Cups was afraid of becoming his father. This is the knowledge, this is the knowing that the Son of Cups father didn't have. And this blade is the same color as that which lies within all of this. There's an element of Four of Cups is here at the bottom of the deck. I'm just going to say it how I don't know how to put it, so I'll just say it. Because it's like I was saying the other day, black in pigment is every wavelength. White in light is every wavelength. So this is a sword of pigment that goes into pigment that then can separate out and liberate all colors to be reborn in the light. And since they're the same color, it's like this can liberate all. All that this holds, this can liberate. And it feels like it's an energy of reconfiguration. Because it feels like this sword breaks this cup. It creates this, like, I'm saying, if it's like a movie, right? The sword breaks the cup and the water goes, psh, and it goes all the way out. But then it's like time stops, right? And these two operate in this space of timelessness. The Son of Cups, with this being free of this cup, it sees all these colors now. This is the energy of that spiritual self, that the spiritual deprivation tank, separation and integration. It's in there, which is the domain of like the Archangel of Healing with the Ace of Cups. Again, it's that energy of the Ace of Cups. So it's like we see everything outside of the cup. And then it's like the Son of Cups comes into this moment of awakening. It reassembles the liquid, and then it's a new chalice. It all flows into a new cup. But it flows in such a way, like I feel like that visual overall, it's symbolic of shadow work, shadow integration. And then with this knowing of self, we can move forward in a way where we don't have to be afraid of becoming our fathers. We don't have to be afraid of being this toxic sort of masculine energy. And again, we're all children of Adam. So even if you're a female down here, you're still dealing with this. And the Four of Cups, yeah, there it is. With the Seven of Cups at the bottom of the deck. But at least, this one got some light. And the Hierophant is behind that. Oh, I told y'all that the Hierophant and the Devil were like the same energies. They're right there. With the Five of Pentacles behind the Devil. Hierophant comes in to give you salvation from this. And then you rely on, you suckle on the teat of that salvation. But it's right here. Like, you already have the cup. It's within you, right? It's the one that's already inside that gives you that. Everything external, it's more or less the same. I mean, from where I'm sitting and from where I'm reading this, I would say that help isn't on the way. Because help being on the way, that's more that Hierophant energy. That's more of us waiting on something outside of us to bring us resolution inside. Help being on the way, it doesn't do anything to move us forward. That's how the Hierophant became the Hierophant. Because we were so reliant upon something or someone outside of us giving us peace, giving us resolution. And the more it did it, the more we relied on it. The more our dependence on it grew. And it's like, you know, it grew to the point where, I don't know, we're not gonna let it go. The healer at the cut with this sun energy. That's the star. Oh, look, see, that's the thing I was talking about, remember? It puts that apocalypse energy, it's like it locks something into place within us. And then behind that healer is the champion. And I like this because I feel like we're wounded in ways when we come to this, in ways that can be healed. I've never noticed this, but these seem like the same energy. This is Leo and Aquarius. Oh, your Abraham Hicks voice? Honestly, I don't even listen to Abraham Hicks anymore. Not for any certain reason. Like, you know, she was on my journey in the beginning, and then just like Cryon was on my journey in the beginning, and then I just sort of floated off and started doing my own thing. They were great introductions, though. This is almost like a Chiron energy. But this is Chiron after he finally gets that antidote. But it's almost like he had to learn to heal everything else first to really be this sort of prime healer. And then there's Queen of Swords again. Let's see. Meaning it may be self-help. All you need. You've integrated after 41 years. Oh, look, there's that Will of Life. Will of Life with the sun. I like that energy. There's the Queen of Swords with the Will of Life. There's that Ace of Pentacles with the Queen of Swords. The Dark Horse, Seven of Wands with that Ace of Pentacles. The Seven of Wands is my minor strength card, with the Knight of Wands being pre-strength and then strength being strength, strength. Integrating all of you. Following only source. Ace of Swords with that Seven of Cups. See? This is the sword that, again, it's like with the Knight of Swords and the Knight of Cups. It's the sword that sort of pierces through the illusion within self. And under that corruptor is the Force and the Nocturne. See, that's why this is so weird. Oh, snap! I like this. So this Ace of Swords, whenever I see an Ace of Swords card, I look at how far the crown is from the hilt. Because this is where we hold the sword, right? This crown is very close to our hand, which means it's something that it's easier for us to grasp, or it's closer and closer to it being like something that we can hold, right? So we had this energy. I feel like this is an energy of restraint. With the Seven of Cups and the Strength card with the Force, this is us sort of like holding out for something that is more fitting. Like when I said in the beginning, right? It's like if you make it a week and then you give in, as soon as you hit the 8th day, then like it's broken. When you hit 9, it's broken even more. When you hit 10, it's broken even more. That's us getting closer and closer and closer to that North Node world. And then that leads us to this Ace of Wands. Ace of Wands being that spark of the creator that burns at the core of your being. And then that leads us to the Keeper, which is the awakened fool who sits with that bread of life, Ace of Pentacles. And then there's the King of Wands, Archangel of Glory. And again, it's like everything happens through the path of least resistance. So if you're the least resistant to divine feminine, goddess energy, then that's the path that will be laid out. And a lot of us are least resistant to divine feminine goddess energy. But it's like it's quantum in nature. So the closer you get to divine feminine, the closer you get to divine masculine. But the longer you hold divine masculine energy as something that is toxic and incomplete and whatever, the longer you actually hold yourself in a toxic, incomplete feminine energy. But again, Hierophant will try to convince us that we can be divine feminine, but connected to this. And it's like, well, how does that work? Where's the balance in that? Like, what? Wouldn't that just like throw everything out of whack? Wouldn't that throw everything out of balance if we have one divine energy that is completely present and the other one is sort of lacking or absent or not complete? And it's like, maybe we wobbled for a long time, right? We wobbled when feminine energy was in control and it was all purely matriarchal. And now we're in this wobble where it's masculine energy is in control and it's a lot more patriarchal. But it's like as we bring both into balance, it negates that wobble. Now there'll be a little bit of a wobble as we sort of like, go in between. But there's so much more that we are worthy and deserving of, that we are capable of. And continuing to take shortcuts or continuing to rely on something or someone outside of ourselves to give it to us, and also like continuing to like almost in some ways buy into what gives us like the least amount of work to do, it doesn't serve us. So that's what I got. I hope you have a good whatever whenever you see this. I hope you're acting in alignment to make all that you wish to experience your reality. Emphasis on act, emphasis on alignment, emphasis on experience. And sometimes when we want a certain experience, there are certain changes that have to be made. And change, it seems, often comes with challenge. And so maybe it's our relationship with challenge as well as change that needs to be looked at, because we simultaneously navigate both, right? Like if you want abundance, then you have to navigate both your ability to accept abundance and your willingness to abandon lack, because you do both at the same time. That's the thing about sort of like that's the thing about duality, right? As we're separating from one, we're heading towards another. So we need to observe both our attitude around separation and our attitude around integration. It's like the Eight of Cups energy, right? While you're walking away from, you are also walking towards. You got to look at both. Because I think sometimes it's like we won't really look at one, and it's like we might have challenge in one area, and so that's what makes it easier for us to sort of like buy into the feeling that we wish to feel, that can then distort and discolor what it is that we actually do, right? Because it's like, and I for a long time I was the type of person that was afraid to be happy, because as soon as I was happy I would lose it. And so I didn't want to be depressed and miserable. And so I would do things that would like sometimes make me not as depressed, but if I got too happy, then it's like it would pull me back. That's navigating in between that Scylla and Charybdis energy. But they're both children of the Hierophant, so All right. I am off to the rest of my day. I'll catch y'all later. You're gonna go spread light. Love to hear it.